Hello, everyone, and welcome to the exam analysis of Symbiosis Entrance Test 2022. Lots of exam happening today, 3rd of July 2022. Different exams happening today. In fact, after this, we have GIPMAT examination at 3 p.m., just about to start. Most of the students have rushed towards their center to appear for that examination. GIPMAT, the gateway towards to I am Jammu and I am Bodh Gaya, is also scheduled today from 3 to 5 p.m. So most students have rushed to their examination hall and they are about to start the examination now. But we'll continue with the SET 2022 exam analysis. SET is conducted every year for admissions to various programs of Symbiosis International University. But primarily, this is taken by students for the BBA program at Symbiosis Center for Management Studies. There are 4 campuses of which Pune, Noida, Hyderabad, and Nagpur. So these 4 campuses of SCMS run the BBA program, the 3-year undergraduate management program. So exam finally concluded today, 3rd of July 2022. And overall, the students found the exam to be quite easy. In fact, if you look at the pattern of the examination, that remained similar to 2021. So over the last couple of years, when the pandemic started, Symbiosis has changed the pattern of the examination. And now a total of 60 questions are required to be attempted in 60 minutes. So if you look at the breakup, you have given the paper. This was the breakup of each of these sections. So English, Maths, and GK had 16 questions each, whereas Analytical and Logical Reasoning section had 12 questions. No negative marking, so I hope you understand what was the requirement. You had to mark every single question. You had to take that risk. In fact, there was no risk. You could have possibly gone ahead and attempted all 60 questions. Even if you don't knew a couple of them, probably you should have taken your chances. So that was a brief overview about the exam which was conducted today. Let's look at each of these sections to understand what is possibly a good score in each of these sections. And if you look at from an overall perspective, what could be a good score and what are the expected cutoffs. So we'll start with English. Now, if you talk about English, this was surprising. Surprising because there was no reading comprehension. Usually, we expect Symbiosis, and that has been the trend, at least one passage, even if it's a short passage, one passage having 3 or 4 or maybe more questions to be there. But this year, surprisingly, there was no reading comprehension passage. The focus was completely on grammar and vocabulary. So the questions were based on synonyms, antonyms, fill in the blanks, sentence improvement, even idioms, phrases, spelling errors as well. So overall, the students felt this section to be quite easy. That's the feedback which we have received. And it was possible to complete the entire section in less than 10 minutes, I would say. But yes, 10 minutes was good enough time for this particular section. And one can easily manage to score anywhere around 12 to 13. Not a very difficult section. And hence for this particular section, if you look at it in isolation, probably people would be even scoring 14 to 15 marks, but I would still say 12 to 13 can be considered a good one for this particular section. Quantitative aptitude, like every year, the questions were from variety of topics, from different topics, but majority of them definitely were from arithmetic, talking about time, speed, and distance, percentages, ratio, proportion, all sort of questions were asked over there. We also had questions from number system and a quadratic equation, actually. Couple of questions seem to be time consuming. That's the feedback. Some of them were really time consuming, but that happens every year. Nothing new this time. Overall, this section can be rated between easy to moderate, or I would say slightly towards the moderate side of difficulty. But that's how maths or quantitative ability section has always been. But still, if you look at the overall section, 12 to 13 can easily be managed. One could possibly score 12 to 13. The questions were not so difficult. A couple of them were time consuming, but the questions were not so difficult. So again, one could easily fetch a score ranging between 12 to 13 over here, and don't get surprised if somebody is even getting 15 marks out of this 16 marks, which was there for this particular section. Moving on, general awareness again. So this year had no surprises except for the English part. So even if you talk about the GK section, it was a mix of static GK and current affairs as always. questions based on economics, that RBI index, if you talk about, or a geography, wherein they were talking about the about the space, basically, also about the international space stations, important days, no tobacco day. We all know May 31st recently celebrated. International organizations they have spoken about. So an attempt of 13, 14 was manageable. It is the static factor probably which makes this section a little moderate in difficulty. I would not say it was completely a difficult section, but little moderate because of the static factor. So I would say a score anything which is above 12 or anything above that can really be considered. If you have done well, you are looking forward to score 12 or more, you should pat yourself. You have done really well in this section, and that is what the expectation would be. That static part makes it slightly difficult. Otherwise, overall, an easy section. Current affairs was easy one actually. The last section, which is based on reasoning, analytical and logical reasoning combined, possibly they try every year to cover every single topic or every single aspect. Whether it comes to analytical reasoning, questions were based on series, blood relations, coding, decoding, clocks, calendar, even setting arrangement, a simple one, statement conclusion plus syllogisms where questions were always there. So timing was not a constraint. Timing was not a constraint for this particular, I would say, examination, and one could have easily given 15 minutes to this particular section. That was possible, and could have definitely attempted all the questions, if not all, maybe 10 questions out of it. So 10 to 12 was definitely manageable for this particular section. Overall, an easy one, and one can easily score anywhere between 10 to 11. So if you look at all this, and then if you look at an overall aspect, probably a score ranging between 46 to 50 can be considered good for this paper. Anywhere, if your score is around 46 to 50, then it is a good score. You should expect a call, unless obviously we are in for surprises. So if you consider all these aspects, if you look at all these aspects, and if we try to figure out what could be the probable, and looking at the previous trends, what could be the probable or expected cutoffs for Symbiosis Center for Management Studies, the 4 campuses, this is what it looks like at this point of time. For SCMS Pune, expect the cutoff to be on the higher side, slightly higher side. Anything around 45 plus is something which is expected to be the cutoff for SCMS Pune. For Noida, 42 plus, Hyderabad, 40 plus, and Nagpur, one can definitely expect a call around 35 plus marks. 35, 36 is what I would presume. That would fetch a call for the next stage of the selection process, which is VAT and personal interview. Now, here is a word of caution or advice for each one of you. In case you have not already applied for the different symbiosis colleges, which you are expected to, please apply before 10th of July. Please check the respective websites of different for all the locations, Symbiosis Center for Management Studies, and ensure you also apply to the program at those colleges. If you have just made the payment and appeared for the exam today, even if you clear the cutoff, if you have not applied to the respective colleges for the respective programs, even if you clear the cutoff, you will not be called for the second stage of selection process, which is WAT and personal interview. Most of the colleges have given time till 10th and even beyond. So please ensure you apply to the colleges by 10th of July using the same login credentials. If you don't do, even if you clear the cutoffs, you will not be given a call. The final merit list is always prepared basis the set score, the performance in the WAT and personal interview. So they broadly look into all the parameters, what you have done today, and if you have cleared the cutoff, then naturally you will be called for WAT, writing ability test, which is an essay writing exercise. Again, will be conducted online, and personal interview, which is also supposed to be conducted online. For each of the campuses you apply, you will be appearing separately for VAT and personal interview. So as many campuses you can choose out of the 4, you can apply to all 4 or maybe just one of them. But that is also important. You have to apply to each of the institutions. So that was all about the Symbiosis entrance examination. Has never been a difficult, which also ensures that the cutoffs are slightly on the higher side. Now, mostly the exams are over today. For those who had GIPMAT, they have already gone there and their exam has already started. For most of you, the exams are now over. It's now a wait and watch for the results. The IPMAT Rohtak, Indore results. IPMAT Rohtak expected this week, the coming week. Indore should be coming out next week. So now it will be the results time and the personal interviews time. So all the best to each one of you. And I hope each one of you will secure a call for the next stage. Prepare well for the personal interview and definitely ensure a success for yourself. Thank you so much for attending this session today, and we wish you all the best.